In this video, we are going to dive into everything you need to know about buying a home right here in San Diego, whether you already live here in San Diego or whether you are relocating to San Diego. It's important to know the entire process of buying a home. We're going to break it into 4 different parts, including understanding the market right here in San Diego, to financing, what that all entails. We'll jump into showings and that whole process, and then getting into the actual offers, negotiations, and everything else that is included in the home buying process right here in San Diego. So let's get into it right now. So number 1, understanding the market. Depending on when you're watching this, the market can be drastically different than it is when I'm actually making this video. So I'm going to show you a few ways to kind of keep an eye on the market yourself and figure out what kind of market we're in. Are we in a hot market? Are we in a slow market? Obviously, if you are thinking about moving out here, these conversations we're having with clients and let them know what's going on in the market. It's really important to know what's going on in the specific neighborhoods that you are searching for homes in. But this will give you a good idea and a good starting point for understanding the market at any time right here in San Diego. So one free resource that'll give you a good insights into the San Diego real estate market is just going to Redfin, but going to the data center. Now, once you get into here, you're gonna go down to region type. I'm gonna hit in the county. So like I said, you can't get specific on cities that you're looking for, but you can get a good idea of what's going on right here in San Diego as a whole. And we'll just clean it up a little bit so we don't necessarily need all. We'll just do the 2 years. You can even just do the current year right now. So obviously this will be changing here soon. And so they have a ton of information up here where you could scroll through and see all kinds of stuff going on. But there's gonna be 4 things that we're gonna keep an eye on. One is going to be off market in 2 weeks. This has given us a good indicator of how fast homes are selling right here in San Diego. Are there a lot of homes selling super quick? Is it dropping down a little bit? As we go back towards the earlier part of the year, nearly 60% of homes were sold within the first 2 weeks. Now, this is important if you're out there searching for homes, so you have a good idea of, okay, are we in a kind of a more frenzied market like we had seen in the past? Are homes selling super quick? How quickly do I need to get in there? Now, time is always of the essence. As we're working with clients, we're letting them know, if you see a house, let's go check it out as soon as we can. But as we have come down through the end of the year, you can see typical towards the end of the year, it's going to slow down anyways, but only about 28% of homes have gone off the market in 2 weeks. The next number is going to be average sale to list price. Now, this number is a great indicator on how much above homes are selling for list price or how much below. Is a $1 million home going right at $1 million? Is it going well over, or is it going well under? The lower this number is, a little bit more room for negotiation. You could see there's a little bit more softness in the market. Currently, we're sitting at 99%, so homes are selling relatively close to their list price. If you look back, peaked out over here this year at 101%, but if we go back to like 2022, you'll see a huge peak where homes were selling for about 106%. Next thing we'll take a look at is months of supply. Do we have a big buildup of homes? Are we in a buyer's market or are we in a seller's market? Now it says months supply at the top, but then they break it down to weeks for some reason. But right now, 9.7 weeks of supply. So just about 2.5 months of supply. Now, typically here in San Diego, as we get into that 4 and above, we typically go a little bit more towards a buyer's market. As we are below that, in that, definitely sub 3 months, we're definitely in closer to a seller's market. If this number goes up a lot, if homes aren't getting absorbed as quickly, if they are sitting on the market, this number will continue to rise. And it gives you a good balance of, are we in a seller's market or are we in a buyer's market? And the 4th number would be median days on market. And so what does this mean for buyers? As we are out there searching for homes and you're seeing homes that have been sitting on the market longer than this, it potentially means that the property that we are looking at is overpriced. Now, we'll get into offers and stuff here in a sec, but every property that we are working with clients on, we're giving them a full report on that specific property, let them know what's going on in the neighborhood, show them comparable sales. But this will give you a good kind of just a ballpark. Okay, the median days on market is 33 days. This home's been on for 45 days. There might be a little bit of room for negotiation. And before we dive into this next point, we do have a full buyer's guide. you can feel free to scan that QR code that's popping up right now, or the link is down below in the description to download a lot of this stuff that we're talking about in depth. You could have it, check it out. It's about 22 pages long and goes through the entire buyer process. So definitely get that downloaded. This next point is super important, and we go more in depth in the guide as well. Now, as you are thinking about buying a home right here in San Diego, and you are going to get a loan, the financing part is a huge piece of the puzzle. The earlier you get on this, the better. Even if you are a year out for now, having those conversations with your lender, whether it be your bank, your credit union, somebody that we have referred to you, somebody you used in the past and had a good relationship with. And it's important to get this step going to not only figure out what you qualify for, but more importantly, what you are comfortable with paying every single month. Now, if you're a ways out, you don't want to start that whole process of reaching out to a lender, getting all that stuff done. Even those first conversations though, it could be literally a conversation. You don't necessarily have to start sending them all your documents. Now, if you do, as you're going through the process, you'll get those updated as you are actually searching for homes. Even if you're a year out, they could keep updating those throughout. But that initial conversation will also help dial all that in. But you can just type in mortgage calculator right here in Google. There used to be one that popped up right here through Google, but nonetheless, you could just dive into any of these that you like. Then you can hop in here, just pop in your potential purchase price. Let's just say you're putting that 20% down, the loan terms, interest rates. This could vary, this could change, but also going into including taxes, insurance. Let's say there's a 350 HOA on this one, and it's going to pop you out somewhat of at least a ballpark idea of what to look like for your monthly payments. One of the biggest things when finding a mortgage lender is going to be that relationship. How quickly are they getting back to you? Are they emailing you quick? Are they shooting you a text, not too long after you get back to them? Because once you actually do get into the home, you're in escrow, the communication with them is going to be super important. Make sure we're hitting timelines, make sure we're getting appraisals done, make sure we're getting all your paperwork updated in a timely manner so that that whole process can go smooth. So you could vet them out right at the front, kind of start that relationship and make sure they are dialed in as well. Now, in the example we just did, we put the down payment as 20%. That's not always going to be the case. It's going to come down to your situation. Sometimes you can put 5, 10, 15%. You could put obviously over 20% if you wanted to bring down your monthly payment, but it's going to vary for your specific situation for the actual program that you are getting, whether it be VA, FHA, standard, conventional, jumbo. There's a bunch of different kind of loans that you can get. But in certain situations, if you're doing like a conventional loan and you do put less than that 20% down, let's say you put 10% down, you're going to likely have something called PMI or private mortgage insurance. And it's basically insurance for the bank since you did put less than that 20% down. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to go the whole term of the loan, because it's going to be an extra additional monthly payment, whether it be a few $100s depending on the difference there. But once you do pay off a certain amount of the home, of the loan, and you have enough equity, you can talk to the lender and that could potentially be dropped off as well. So it doesn't necessarily need to go the whole term of the loan. So getting into costs and monthly costs and how that breaks down, there's basically like 5 different things that are going to affect your monthly payment. One's going to be principal and interest. So how much are you paying off of the actual loan amount? And then interest, how much interest is going to be paid every single month. Definitely during the initial years of your mortgage, a lot of that payment is going to be interest. So a big chunk of this area here is going to be interest, where you're paying off just a little bit of principal. So that does play a big role in your monthly payment, the biggest, right? The next one is going to be property taxes. Now this number's definitely a little bit off. Now, right here in San Diego, they're going to reassess the property at the purchase price. So in this example, if you purchase a home for $1.2 million, the property taxes is going to be 1% of that. Plus there's typically some other stuff. We always say budget about 1.25% in this. That way you are covered for if there's Mellorews, if there's other little things in there, because the property tax you're going to see on your property tax bill, there's going to be some other stuff. Now in this example, it'd actually probably be about $1,000 plus a little bit more for those extra things per month. Now, property taxes and homeowners insurance. If you're getting a loan, you're going to have to get homeowners insurance, but those two items aren't always on your mortgage bill. Depending on how you set it up with your mortgage lender, the main things that are going to be on there is your principal and interest, the first item we covered. But Sometimes the lender requires it, where you do have to pay this into an escrow account. So all of these items would be on your mortgage bill. You'd see more principal, property taxes, homeowners insurance on all of those. And even though property taxes here in San Diego are only paid twice a year, you would still be paying this monthly. So you would either, if you're paying it yourself, you're going to want to budget for that. Or if you're paying it into an escrow account and your mortgage servicer is handling that for you, then they will take care of that for you as well. The other two on here you're seeing is private mortgage insurance and HOA fees. HOA fees aren't necessarily going to be on your mortgage bill, but you'll pay that to the actual HOA or the management company. But when the lenders are running these numbers, they will account for this as well, as far as what you're qualified for. And it'll be a good idea to see, like, we get back to what are you actually comfortable with paying every single month. Now, another item to be aware of is closing costs. So it's going to be some things that you have to think about and you will have to budget for as you're going through the process, including like escrow fees, including title fees, including prepaid items. So potentially you might have to prepay 6 months of the HOA fee, maybe 6 months of insurance, depending on how your lender did it. But these are all usually like one-time fees that you're going to pay at closing. So you will have to budget them for this initially. But after that, it's just going to be your mortgage, your HOA, that kind of stuff. One other cost you might see, and it's a new rule for the real estate world that we just saw passed in the last year or so, is potentially your buyer's agent fees. Now that's a whole nother video. We'll have that whole conversation. And what does that actually entail? Right here in San Diego, we still have seen a lot of sellers covering that, but it comes down situation to situation. How's the market at that time? Now jumping into showings. How does that work here? What should you be looking for? What should you be looking for in your agent? All that kind of stuff. First off, it's not like any of the TV shows you see, Selling Sunset, HGTV, any of that kind of stuff where they're coming in, they're, showing you, hey, here's the kitchen and giving some people do that. When we're working with our clients, it's letting them feel the space, letting them get in there. A lot of times that initial feeling when you're looking at a house, like you could see yourself living there or not, like that feeling could come pretty quick. If not, you don't necessarily even need to continue the show and be like, nah, don't feel bad. We've had this happen where we go into a house and they're like, it's not for me, or just even from the outside, and be like, all right, well, let's go on to the next one. If you're in there and the agent is trying to sell you, then there could be an issue. When we're working with clients, we are opening up the door, let them explore. We're going to do our own due diligence. You guys are checking it out, open up cabinets. We're looking for any red flags as well. After you've seen the house and get a feeling for it, if you're like, okay, yeah, now let's start thinking about offers and we do like the house. Did you see any red flags? Is there anything, that we need to know about? Now going back to that original understanding the market, one thing that we do on every home that clients are looking to put an offer in is put together a comparable market analysis, or we call it the CMA. And it's going over everything that has recently sold, everything that's currently pending, everything that is actually on the market, put together a full picture so you can figure out, okay, here's where we sit in the market. We can start putting together a strategy for writing an offer. That's also having conversation with the agents, how many offers are in. But when we are writing the offer, there's basically 4 main things you have to think about. Now the offer is like a long page. I think it's about 27 pages long. But the first initial pages is where you're putting together all the main terms of the offer. One of the first things is price. What is the offer price? This is one of the obviously most important factors when writing the offer. Now coming up with that, you're diving into the CMA, you're having conversations with us or your agent and figuring out, okay, where strategically should we go in on this offer? Are we going above list? Is there a lot of competition and we're going to have to push that price up a little bit? Are we going to go right at list? We know the home's been on here. There's been other interest, but we could potentially be the only offer going right at their asking price or a little bit below. Has it been on for a little bit? Do the homes around here that have sold, have they sold for a little bit less than what they're offering here within the relatively same condition? Then maybe go in a little bit low. The home's been on the market. Maybe it was overpriced a little bit. Another main thing in the offer is called earnest money or your initial deposit. Typically here in San Diego, we see that at 2 to 3% of the purchase price. And this is a good faith deposit. It's going to escrow. It's not going to the seller. Its escrow company is going to hold it. And at the end, it's going to be going towards your down payment. So if your down payment was 20%, you put a 3% earnest money deposit, it's only going to be that 17% difference. The third important thing is inspection timelines. So here in San Diego, there's a few main inspections we always recommend. A general home inspection where they're going through, checking out everything throughout the house, make sure all the systems work and the air conditioning and the heater and the stoves and all that kind of stuff. They dive into all that. The second one is a termite report, or it's called a wood destroying organisms, where they're not just looking for termites, they're looking for fungus and dry rot and a few other things. But that is going to be something, likely you're going to find something on that report. The third is a sewer inspection, is something we always recommend, especially as you're getting into older properties here in San Diego. So those are the three main ones, plus anything else that is important to you. But when we're writing this offer, the default is 17 days. But a lot of times, especially in more competitive markets, we are recommending shortening this down to 10 days or 14 days or whatever it might be. This is a time in the process when you do have one of your outs where you can get out of the contract. And it's if you find something you don't like, there's a lot of different ways to go about that. But this is also making sure the home is in the condition that the sellers are saying it is in. The fourth main thing is going to be closing date. How long is the escrow period going to go? Typically right here in San Diego, it's anywhere between 21 to 30 days. Sometimes it's 45 days. And this comes down to how fast can the lender get all of their information and the appraisal and all that kind of stuff done, but also what are the sellers looking for? Do they potentially need a rent back on the property? Do they need a super quick closing because they're on escrow on a property they are buying? And then what does your timeline look like? Do you have more time? Do you need to close super quick? All of those are important things when figuring out the closing date. Now we write all this up for you and go through it all, make sure everything's good, make sure everything's squared away, and then submit this offer to the other side. Now there's a few things that they could do during this. They can accept the offer straight up, which is always ideal. You wrote a strong offer, you wrote a good offer, and the seller accepts it as is. The second option is going to be reject the offer. They don't like it. They don't even want to respond to it. For one reason or another, we rarely see this. And the third option, which is probably the most common option, is going to be a counter offer. So they're changing something in the offer, whether it be the close date or just even cleaning up a few terms, or it could be pretty much anything. But it changes, it's a rejection of the initial offer, and now they are counter offering you. So all these terms plus what they added or took out, and it comes back to you. And then at that point, you get to make the decision. So let's say you submitted the offer, you get your offer accepted. Now the timeline starts. So the earnest money is due within the first 3 business days. Your inspection time starts. So getting all of those set up, and we're helping you with all this, make sure all the timelines are met and all that kind of stuff. But they're, especially during the initial phases of getting your offer accepted or getting into escrow rather, those first few weeks, maybe a week or two, kind of hectic. There's a lot going on. The inspections are going on. You're getting a ton of paperwork as far as disclosures from the seller. Some are super important, and we go over all that. Make sure you're dialed in. You're also getting a lot of stuff, a lot of information updated with the lender. After you get past that initial phase, there's still going to be points where we need to hit. There's going to be a final walkthrough towards the end. You're still updating all of your paperwork. You're going to get a closing disclosure from the lender. So there's still a lot of things, but the bulk of it is in that first few days. As you go towards closing, you don't necessarily need to be around. We've helped a lot of clients do remote closings, but planning that ahead, making sure the escrow company knows where you're going to be, making sure we get a mobile notary to you, or you can go to the escrow office if you are local right here as well. So there's a few different ways to go about it. The loan gets funded. The title gets recorded at the county recorder. That's at the time that we make the call to you. Congratulations, you now purchased a home. So as you can see here in the home buying process, there's a lot of moving parts. And like I said, if you want all of this information in a nice, concise form, go download our guide that's popping up right now, because it's got all this information plus a bunch more things on some common things you got to know, on a few of our lenders that we recommend, and a few things to avoid as you're going through the pre-approval process. So go get that downloaded. And if you are ready to start that conversation, as always, feel free to reach out, because we got your back when making the move here to San Diego.